Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and it looks like we have some very interesting news. You see, in the game files, some Dogs of War characters were found. Lucrezia Belladonna and Bertsche the Besieger. Yeah, two characters from Tilea. It's kind of odd, isn't it? Obviously, these are characters associated with the Dogs of War, and they're listed as Dogs of War 2 here, but there's a few things we need to talk about before we get into some speculation, mostly because it's important to talk about. First up, you might notice that there is a key attached to these names, right? DLC number 22, that is also for the Shadows of Change stuff. So, first up, this was intentional. This is a new addition to everything, which means either they had plans to make the Dogs of War and that eventually got shelved, or Creative Assembly knew well enough that Shadows of Change was going to be a little bit of a problematic area, you know? There's a review bomb going, there's a lot of drama, and I need to wait for 1 minute to pass. Here we go. It was a shit show. Sorry, you can't swear before 1 minute or else YouTube kind of penalizes you for it. So, yeah, I think that they knew that this drama was coming and they thought, well, why don't we hint at the Dogs of War? The Dogs of War are the last army in Warhammer Fantasy Battle that had an army book, and yeah, you know, it's a lot of rumors that for Old World they're going to get redone given the Cafe and Kislev treatment. It's something that's been heavily speculated for a while. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So why not see the Dogs of War included in Total War Warhammer? Get the last army book in, especially as a lot of people have been complaining that the territories of the Dogs of War are unfortunately held by minor empire factions, and it's absolutely frustrating to most people. The Dogs of War aren't their own faction, they aren't their own nation, it's actually Tilea, Estalia, Araby, and the Border Princes. Did you really think I was not going to mention Araby here? They are part of the Dogs of War, Al-Muqta's Desert Dogs, and a few other characters in the book, so yeah. CA have no excuse. If they're going to do Dogs of War, they need to do Araby. But this is a mix, right? There's also loads of different units and stuff like that. It could end up not being a race pack and just a Dogs of War pack where you're able to hire stuff, but that would be absolutely frustrating and absolutely annoying because it's about time that we started seeing other things. Now, you might remember a while back that I actually had a bit of a speculation going on saying that it might be time for a very interesting way for the Dogs of War. A Dogs of War DLC and then mini race packs to flesh out the factions, meaning that we could have Tilea, Estalia, and Araby as its own nations. They wouldn't be fully fledged race packs, and it would just be like 1-2 legendary lords at most, and then a bunch of different units. It's something that is entirely possible, and I'll say why a little bit later, though I must say that it does kind of worry me because if DLC is going to be about 25 euros now, a race pack, even a mini race pack, could end up being like 40, and nobody wants that. Unless the content provided is actually worth that much, you know? Not skipping out on stuff, you know? Yeah? Beaks on Zangors? The unit card kind of says it. I'm just saying. Although we might not even need a race pack and then 4 mini race packs or whatever, as Champions of Chaos kind of proves that they can use the same assets over and over and just change them around with reskins. At the end of the day, they're all going to be humans, so certain things can be carried over, and the benefit of this is that they could easily start taking stuff from other factions too. And I'm saying here, well, why not use the rigs and animation from the Empire, from Bertsche, stuff like that, which is all expected, and then just reskin it, recolor, and go. Obviously not just a recolor, it'd have to be a proper reskin, but you get what I mean. Further to this, I've asked a few modders who do have stationary PCs and so on, which aren't updated just yet with newer builds, and they've gone in for the game files, they've seen that, yeah, this is not in there. It might be on certain others with more recent builds, but this does look like it's fresh and brand new. And finally, you might say that, well, a lot of these factions, Tilea, Estalia, and Araby didn't really have full-fledged rosters. Araby did, though, through War Master, but some of them are quite outdated. Well, don't I have some interesting news for you? So you see, in Warhammer the Old World, this is the new version of Warhammer Fantasy, Games Workshop has been doing some postings and every now and then showing map updates. One of them was centered around the Border Princes with some very new and unique heraldry, looking to be very similar stylings of that of Morocco, more or less Middle Eastern. There's also Spanish and Italian styling ones, which is obviously, you know, Araby, Tilea and Estalia, because that's what they're based on. Warhammer Fantasy is based on real life, just turned into a bit of a fantasy thing. So there's been a lot of rumors, very heavy rumors from very reliable sources, that we will be getting the Tilea, Estalia and Araby armies that we always wanted. There was a lot of demand on that. Hell, even in the Warhammer the Old World Q&A session that I was actually at for Warhammer Fest, when asked about Tilea, I believe it was, or Estalia, one of the two, the crowd in that hall thundered and cheered. And obviously Games Workshop are aware of that type of stuff. They can tell what their viewers, what their, well, pay pigs, let's put it that way, are interested in. So, yeah, I mean, this could be possible. I really do think that this could be a possible DLC, but it won't be anytime soon. They've added this here just to kind of like hype people up. I don't think it's coming anytime soon. I think if we do get the Dogs of War, it'll be at the end of the lifespan of Warhammer 3, which Rich Aldridge was on record saying 3 to 4 years from now. Who knows if it's a little bit sooner, considering recent happenings. Now, obviously, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Neither of the Dogs of War locations can actually be found in the Realm of Chaos map, which would mean that this would have to be an Immortal Empires DLC, something that Creative Assembly have said that they have no plans for. So, I mean, could Creative Assembly be lying? No, never. Creative Assembly never lie to the player base, except, you know, these are not monogod factions, they're demon factions with a little bit of flavoring to them. That's an exact quote, by the way. And obviously, you know, a ton of new units for Shadows of Change. There's many, many examples. Hell, the Rome 2 trailer, the trailer for Total War Warhammer 1, where you could put artilleries on the wall. We're getting a Northern Lords expansion for Free Kingdoms. That was actually something that they confirmed before they decided to take that game back and shoot it. So, yeah, this could be in the pipeline. I do believe, and I will be very honest with you though, that they added these Dogs of War files to the game files for it to be found. They know that people data mined and so on. This was likely done again as a, what we call on the tabletop, a distraction carnifex, to distract people from the shit show of the DLC. I mean, it's something which, yes, I must admit, even distracted me for a moment until certain other things came to light, but I must admit, yeah, well played, well played. I must admit, I'm a little bit excited about the prospect of Dogs of War. Now, one thing though, I am going to put a public message out to Creative Assembly here. If the Dogs of War are done, Estalia, Tilea, right now we only see a representation towards Tilea. I sincerely hope that Araby is not excluded from this. Yes, I know I sound like I'm like flogging the dead horse, but the fact of the matter is that Araby is represented in the Dogs of War book. We know for obviously not only Al Mukhtar's Desert Dogs, but the Paymaster and so on. It's important that they get represented too. We need to think about it this way, right? A lot of people get excited with Warhammer Fantasy when their country and the mythos surrounding that country is explored in one way, shape, or form, right? It's one of these things. There's a lot of really cool Arabic stuff in the mythos, you know, the Jinn and so on, the Ifrits, which are kind of similar, but you know what I mean. It's something that really should be explored, and it would be absolutely frustrating and infuriating if everyone else got included, but not them. I know I sound like a broken record, I talk about Araby a lot, but I genuinely want them as a playable faction because they've always had some important lore stuff, they've always been kind of cool, and they're not an evil faction like people believe. They're actually more neutral good in terms of alignment, and, well, it's just, there is a massive gaping hole in Araby at the moment, which is literally just one settlement when it should be like 4 or 5, maybe even more. That needs to be used, and that needs to be used correctly. But anyways, with all that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and yeah, let's start a bit of a discussion. Are you guys excited about the prospect of the Dogs of War DLC? Oh, yeah, I just realized. Also, don't make this a fucking, like, €40 DLC. Like, there's no way you can justify that. Race pack price and race pack price alone. Sorry, I had to, like, get into that because, yeah. Have a good day, guys. I'll see you all again very, very soon.